Welcome to TCN Talks and Anatomy of Leadership. We continue the conversation in part 2 of Unlocking Leadership Potential through Self-Awareness with Coach Sherry Winn. And now, here's Chris Como.
So here's a good segue question. Once a leader recognizes that they're making excuses, which that in itself is progress, what's the first practical step they should take to break that pattern and then move forward towards higher productivity, higher accomplishment, higher success?
I love it that you're just throwing me all the fluffy questions today. Thank you, Chris.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much. No, I think that it comes back to that awareness, that mindfulness. And I think the only way to get mindfulness is, I don't know if there's another way. I think the best way is through meditation. Because if you ever sit down to meditate and you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on breathing. It's like, I feel the breath going in. I feel the breath going out. I feel the breath going in. Oh, I've got 15 things to do today. Oh, yeah, breathing. And so what meditation does for you, in my opinion, is it helps you understand how often you go off track. And it also helps you understand that you have the power to bring yourself back. So you have to have the mindfulness first to know that it's an excuse that you're doing. You have to be aware of that. And then the second awareness you have to have about excuses is that going to give me the result I want? So in the moment, is if you're aware that it's an excuse, and then you say to yourself, is it going to give me the result that I want? And if the answer is no, then you want to change your mindset. It's just, but you have to have that. So many people don't have the mindfulness. And I'm still learning, Chris, I'm still learning how much I don't know that I think. Like, it's crazy. It's like, what? I've been thinking this. So I just came to the realization the other day, this is insane, but that I feel guilty eating food, right? So my mom is all about, you're going to be fat. You want to be fat. It was like all this, like, plant these seeds. And so I've been, for years, I've been constantly not knowing, but adding up in my head, how much did I eat today? Did I eat that? Oh my gosh, I shouldn't eat this. This is bad food to eat. Oh, I feel guilty eating this. Well, how in the world can you ever have a good relationship with food in your body if you're feeling guilty? And I didn't even realize how much guilt I was bringing into it. And so, I practice mindfulness. I practice self-awareness. So imagine a person who's just learning. They need to learn first to be mindful and to catch that story before it sinks into you, because you have 17 seconds. This is what neuroscience says. You have about 17 seconds before that thought starts getting attached into your neural networks, and it becomes deeper and more connected, and becomes more like it becomes so deep it becomes a belief, because a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, right? So in that moment, if you could just say, if I use this excuse, am I going to get what I want? No. Well, then I don't want to use it. Let me find another direction to go. Let me find something else to do. And it's, again, you have to start recognizing all the thoughts that you have, which are tons. We have lots of these thoughts. Yep. And how many of those thoughts are not taking you the direction that you want to go?
That is so good. I'm a voracious reader, and I don't say that braggingly. It's an actual passion and a love of mine. I have a team member. She goes, when you talk about all the books you're reading, it sounds like you're bragging. I'm like, you love beekeeping. That to me is like, that's my love. So anyway, I read this great book, and it was all about about the thought process and all the thinking. And it was based upon the scripture about the battlefield of the mind. And the guy in this book actually uses beautiful metaphor about the Situation Room, which I don't know if you know much about the Situation Room in the White House. So it goes back to some interesting history, I think, during JFK. But you don't have all the listening and technology now. It's just kind of like, it's a very safe room, basically. And he's using the metaphors, what are you going to let into that room as a metaphor? And it's just made me so aware. And I, just like you, just this morning in my quiet time, there's a thought pattern that I did not realize was driving a script in me. And I'm like, that's been there a long time. And there's a lot of habits that come out of that. And going back to the root and headwaters of that, I'm just in the beginning of this one that I just found, but I can now go back to the rearview mirror of my life and go, oh, that was a product of that. That was a product of that. That was not good. I don't want to repeat that. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's a process. And I think that when people start the process, the thing that I want people to understand is, in this process, you have to give yourself grace. Because the first thing that we do, or the first thing that I did, is judgment. And judgment's not going to move you the direction you want to go. it's going to keep you stuck and it's going to keep you going the opposite direction. So it's really about being curious, being understanding, being instantaneous forgiveness. And so this comes back, we're going to circle back to love, right? So if you can, in the moment, give yourself that forgiveness, that love, look, you're going to get to where you want to go faster. But if you need to spend an hour beating yourself up, you just lost an hour of moving to where you want to go, or a day or 2 days, or some people for years.
Yeah.
Go in this place.
Well, in another place in your book, you frame accountability not as punishment, which I think a lot of leaders stray away from it. Maybe it's some of their own scripts and what they saw as maybe accountability in their life. And so you frame it not as punishment, but as something much more empowering. How can leaders practice accountability in a way that builds trust rather than fear?
Right. So first of all, they got to get set in their mind, this is not punishment. Because, think about this. We have to understand that people, our nature is to find the easy way out. That's our nature. I mean, if you have two roads and one is going to be level and it's going to get you where you want to go and it's going to get you there faster, or you have this huge mountain that you have to go over that's going to take 5 more hours, which way are you going to go? Easy way. Like, duh. Well, so people are going to look for the easy way out. But if you know that you're going to be held accountable, if you know that somebody's at the other end going, you were supposed to go over the mountain and you took this road, well, you're going to go over the mountain. So we have to show them that we care deeply about them by holding them accountable, so they're going to reach their goals, they're going to get to where they want to go, and they're going to be happy about, what they just received, which is, worthiness, value, validation, whatever it is. So it's not being mean. It's just helping people get what they really want, but they're not certain that this is the way they need to go to get there. You're showing them how much you care about them. It's like a parent. I mean, if you're a good parent, you hold your children accountable. You're not going to let your child get away with, throwing a temper tantrum in the middle of a store. You may not punish them there, but you're going to have a great conversation with them when you get home, or you might be able to have a conversation in the store, depending on how good you are. I know a parent's good when they're racing their kids and they do this 1, 2, and the kid's like, better, like in that, because there's the accountability, and the child knows accountability is coming, and so they're going to do the right thing. And so we're just helping people evolve to the best version of themselves. This is not about us being mean. This is what you do when you truly care about somebody deeply, is you want to hold them accountable so they get to their goals.
That is so well said. And you actually then remind me of this, because I wrote about this in my book. Like, I got through into my book, and I'm like realizing I'm so passionate about trying to become a better version of myself, not realizing for other people, like maybe they don't see that yet. So here's my question. You emphasize creating a shared, compelling vision. What does a winning vision look like in a mission-driven field, especially like hospice and palliative care? And my point is, like, I realized I went through my book, and so what I did at the end of the book, I was walking through Lowe's with my wife, and we were planting blueberry bushes, and it jumped out at me that the tag on the bush wasn't this beautiful picture of people digging it, having to cultivate, having all the hard work. They were giving you the beautiful picture of the fruit on the bush at the end, and I'm like, that's what I was missing, was giving them a compelling vision of what it looks like to be a better version of yourself. So is that what you're after with this concept of a winning vision?
Yeah, I think that it has to be something that people can feel. So you have to change your vision into something that people tangibly can feel. They can touch it, they can feel it, they can see it, they can smell it. It's got to be that kind of vision. And I'll tell you, Tommy, this guy named Jason G. He was the men's basketball coach when I was the women's coach at the University of Charleston. And I watched him really paint the vision in such a way that his guys believed in it. So they start their season every year, and his guys would be in the gym going, conference champs, doing push-ups, conference champs, screaming it, push-ups, conference champs, conference champs. I'm like, dude, Jason, conference doesn't start till December. Today is August. He's like, vision starts today, coach plan. And then I'd see him talk to his guys like every single day. Guys, when we win the conference, because or he'd go, John, let me talk to you, John. Come here, John. John, I want to tell you about, you're going to be the guy that's going to grab that rebound that we need. That's going to stop the other team so that we win that championship game. You're going to be the guy who does that. I mean, he just painted it so vividly all the time. When he had his calendar was not like game versus so-and-so, his win versus so-and-so. I mean, he spoke with conviction. He talked about it. He painted the picture for guys. I mean, I was just like, I wasn't on the team, and I'm like, I want to be on your team. Let me put me on your team. So the vision was like that. And I think that when we go into corporations, we got to do the same thing. We got to create the picture, and not just create it, but we've got to keep talking about it, exploring it, telling people about it, what their part is in it, so that people really feel it, in their soul, that they're so connected to it. And we don't do that often enough. We put this big, like, this is our vision, boom, and then we're done. And we expect everybody to believe in it. Well, you got to make it something that really they feel and connect with.
Yeah, so good. You said also in your book that people don't buy into what we do, they buy into who we are. So how does a leader cultivate authenticity that inspires that type of belief, that type of trust? And that maybe type of knowing, maybe is a better word.
Well, we're energetic human beings, right, Chris? We're energy at our base. So if you break us all down, they know this now. When you get to the atom, they break the atom down. Energy, whoop, whoop. So you have to be that energy. I mean, if your words don't match your energy, everybody knows it. Everybody, you've probably walked in a room at some point in your life. You walk in the room, two people have been fighting. They're not fighting anymore, but you walk in, you're like, oh, I'm not going in that room. No. Well, whether we know it or not, we're emitting that energy all the time. So if your energy is that energy that comes from all of the personal development, that self-awareness that you've done, and you really get to the energy and understanding the love we talked about earlier, right? If you get to that energy, people feel it. And so if your words don't match your energy, they're like, something's not, they might not be able to name it, but they understand it's not matching up. It's not matching up. And so when you enter something, you enter from that position of all that personal development, all the self-awareness that you've done, and you're entering in that way. And then whatever you say matches who you are. So people who are listening to us today, right, Chris, they know that what you say is you. They know that what I say is me, because they can feel the energy of that. And so people try to fake it. You can't fake authenticity. It's got to be the essence of who you are.
That's my mentor, Dr. Thayer, would basically say exactly what you just said. That leadership really comes down to, it's the essence of who you are. It's a reflection. So his kind of magnum opus book was leadership ... thinking, being, doing. As we think, so we are. As we are, so we do. And that's actually a great framing. It's like a brain tattoo. So if I'm worried about, well, I don't have that thing down yet. Well, how does my thinking affect my being, which is then driving my doing? And we're all some level of work in progress. There's no level of perfection this side of this part of the journey that we're on. I see you shaking your head quite a bit. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I just think about, one of my big teaching points is quit taking it personal, right? I mean, you want to go through life understanding that what somebody else says to you is because of who they are. It's not who you are, it's who they are. And I live that probably 94.5% of the time. And then somebody will say something, I just go ballistic. I'm like, even when I'm doing it, I'm like, what is going on here? Because that's not me. That's not who I am. And so even when we practice this and we live it, there are still moments when our imperfection is going to show through, because we're humans. And then the cool thing about that is that the moment is that you get to give yourself peace. That's the moment you get to practice the very things that you're saying are so essential. So, I'm always reminded of those moments when I lose it. And it's not often, but I do. I mean, it's less often than it used to be, right? But then I'm like, okay, how fast can I get myself back straight? How fast can I recover and step back into the essence of who I really want to be? Because that's what it gives us that opportunity to do. But we're human beings, and the human experience is filled with mistakes and imperfections, and just, human stuff that we do that we're like, I wish I would have said that, wish I would have done that. But that's our lessons. That's what we need to grow and to be and to evolve into this person, this leader that can really lead at a different level that people feel and they so want to connect with. I think that, and if we were perfect, Chris, if you were perfect, if I were perfect, we would be so much on a pedestal that nobody would think they could get there. What good are we then?
Right. And there's no reality there for anybody. But, a quote that's just been such a kind of guiding light for me this year, I think it's a Eugene Peterson quote that, of course, it's from a Christian perspective, but it's about not perfection. It's basically saying going in the same direction for a longer period of time. In other words, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to make mistakes. I am a work in progress. But can I look through the rearview mirror and the trajectory is more often than not in a better direction than where I've been? That's my interpretation of that quote. And that's been, because I've always been bad most of my life, giving myself grace. I'm like, I'll be the hardest coach on myself. And it has driven me to great success and heights, but it's also probably not been so healthy in other aspects. So there's a more graceful way to do that, which is, I feel like, what you're poking on. If I even read you right, you probably were a little bit more of a hard-ass coach in the earlier part of your career, maybe in the latter. Is that true?
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. I mean, the evolution was really huge. And it's probably the reason people say, why did you get out of coaching? But, life transforms you. I mean, the events in your life transform you. And the events in my life transformed me. What I really wanted to do after a while was like, look, I'm getting these 12 to 15 young women. And next year, a lot of them are the same, and nothing wrong with that. I really wanted to have the opportunity to grow them as individuals. But what I started learning was I really wanted to share this with a lot more people. I mean, I had messages that were going to help more leaders and more people, and I was different. I mean, winning wasn't the end all be all that it was early. It became, I really want to see this young lady evolve. I want to see who she becomes. I want to help her get through this thing. Well, if you're a coach, winning's got to be everything to you. I mean, literally, you got to be like, And I just lost some of that because competition wasn't as important.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, you've coached elite athletes and now high-impact executives. What could maybe hospice empowered care leaders learn from Olympic athletes, other athletes you've coached about thriving under pressure? Because there is an immense amount of pressure in this work that we're doing. And again, it's going to get more. It's not going to get less, unfortunately.
Well, I think the same thing that I've taught for a long time is that pressure is something you put on yourself. So how do you want to change that? And what view do you want to make pressure? How do you want to view it differently? And, you see people now saying pressure's a privilege. Well, that's one of those things that people do to switch that, to switch that concept into a happier place, into a more revealing place for yourself. So when I think of pressure, it's like, well, if I put it on myself, what can I do to take it off myself? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And do I want to feel that way versus the stress that I'm adding? Because we know what stress does, right? We know that if you go to the doctor and they're going to say, oh, you need to get less stress in your, you got this, but if you just reduce your stress, you'd be fine. And like that, and you're like, okay, great. I'm going to get rid of my job, my family, but since we can't do that, we need to be able to do the other, which is the way we view stress. So in what ways do you want to change your view of stress? In what ways do you want to view it in such a way that you feel better about it instead of worse about it? And again, it goes back to the mindset, because whatever you tell yourself, I feel a lot of pressure, there's so much pressure here, it's golly, it just has to be drained. Okay, well, that becomes your truth. Or you can say, pressure's a privilege. I'm so lucky that I get to do what I do. I'm really helping people in such a way that I get to see some incredible miracles daily or weekly. I'm so lucky to be in this business. I'm so lucky to be in a space where I see these people and the love they have for other people in their life, or the way they rewrite their lives, or the forgiveness they ask for, or whatever they do. Like, you get to reframe that however you want to, and then if you take the pressure off, it doesn't feel the same.
That is so good. Last year on my whiteboard in my office, I feel like listening to you, I need to go put it back on top. I had get to versus got to. Am I got to go do that, or I get to go do that? And just that reframing. And I had it in big bold letters. I think after this podcast, I'm going to put it back on my whiteboard. So, Sherry, so as we kind of land the plane here, if you gave one piece of advice to hospice empowered care leaders just trying to find their voice, strengthen their leadership presence, what would it be?
Well, I think you go back to, why are you in this business? What was it you came to do? What was your passion about getting into it? Who are you serving? how does that serving fulfill you? Like, how do you connect to that in such a way that you go, oh my gosh, like what I do is very purposeful, and dive into the purpose of it, feel it, and remind yourself that you make a difference. I mean, what I'm doing really makes a difference because we're all going to go that same path. Nobody gets to go a different direction. We're all going the same way. And I think the more you connect to your purpose and the more you connect to your passion, the easier it is for you to do whatever is in front of you.
That's so good, Sherry. I'm kind of wishing like, damn, I wish you were my coach. Any final thoughts? Because you're obviously a kick-ass coach. So any final thoughts?
I think that goes back to what I said earlier is you don't get what you want, you get who you are. To get what you want, you must change who you are. And so people will say, but this is my personality. I'm like, well, I changed mine. Like you can change yours. Like you don't come with this finite ability to become somebody. It's infinite. But we create all those barriers and all those obstacles. So who do you want to become? And then if that's who you want to become, start learning, start growing, hire a coach, hire a mentor, read some books. Like you said, you read books all the time. So do something about it, evolve, make an evolution. I'm always growing and learning new things. And I don't get it perfect. I know I'll never get it perfect, but here's what I think. I'm joyful about it. I'm joyful about the lessons I've learned. I'm joyful about the places I've come to in this world. And I really want other people to understand that joy and that love that you can have for being on this earth at this time with the situations that you have.
That is so good. Well, Sherry, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Keep it up. And I know Coach Sherry and our listeners do as well. So to our listeners, end of each episode, we always share a quote, a visual. The idea is create a brain bookmark, a thought powder about what we've been discussing over this podcast series. And so we want to further your learning and your growth, and thereby it sticks. We're going for like a brain tattoo. Make sure you subscribe to Anatomy of Leadership. We're going to put links to Sherry's books. We'll always put a link to my book, The Anatomy of Leadership, as well. It's easy to rail against the world. Let's be the change that we wish to see in the world. So thanks for listening to The Anatomy of Leadership. And here's our brain bookmark to close today's show.
You don't get what you want. You get who you are. To get what you want, you must change who you are. By Coach Sherry Winn. Thank you, USI, for sponsoring this podcast.